Is everybody in? Is everybody in? The show is about to begin.
Welcome to the podcast, concerts that made us, interviews and stories, tales from the bus. We love taking you back to when it all went down. The greatest live shows and the cheering crowd sound. It's concerts that made us, concertsthatmadeus.com.
Hey, this is Joey Factor from New Dilemma, and you're listening to The Concerts That Made Us.
Run!
Joey, you're very welcome to Concerts That Made Us.
Oh, thanks for having us, man. Pleasure to be here.
It's great to have you. Now, New Dilemma recently released the new EP, Toxic. Take us deeper into it if you can.
Yeah, man. This time with Toxic, we really wanted to sort of dig a little deeper than usual. I call my style of writing hard on the sleeve lyrics. Everything's very personal, like a lot of artists is, of course. But I just don't hold anything back. I get really personal on our story and where that came from. And this one is about sort of battling the circumstance. One of the songs, and then Running High, which is our current single, is really about sometimes you have to protect your own mental health and you have to hide from these demons to get better to fight them in full. And that's sort of where that comes from an artistic standpoint on that. And then we got the other song Spiral, and that's sort of like middle finger to the sky, man. Like all the people that say you can't do stuff, just you gotta do you and put the hate aside. Like if you listen to everybody else, you'll never do anything, you know. So this one is just touching on a lot of aspects of what we're going through as a band and what I'm going through personally, as long as the rest of the guys.
Right, right. How do you feel about, you know, some artists who say they don't like putting so much of themselves into their lyrics?
You know, I guess it's one of those to each his own things. For me, I don't know how else to write. For me to connect with somebody or to connect to other artists, it needs to have that personal aspect. It needs to give us something to grab onto, because as fans, which I've been a fan of music a lot longer than I've been in the spotlight or a frontman for music. So, you know, you have to have that thing that relates to people's lives. That's what we do here. And as an artist, we want to take you out of your real life, even if it's sometimes in moments that take us to a darker place. New Dilemma always has a slight twist at the end of the songs with like the light at the end of the tunnel, man. And I think that's important. But yeah, I think it's important to write from the heart. I mean, you can write about benign things. People do it. It works well. It's just not for me.
Yeah, I get you. I get you. And when you came up for the concept of the EP, how close is the finished version to the original?
um, we'll give you, we did a 30% change from start to finish. I mean, it sort of just molds with my guys. We got Zach Robin on lead guitar. He's also does producing. So he gives us such a great standard out of the gate, right? For like having ideas and we're, you know, we have this musical concept going on, and then our drummer Sean Kimmerling gets a hold of it and he just, you know, redoes it with his style and flair, which is amazing to me. And then Roach on the bass, you know, he's an insane live player and great in the studio, and he just you know, everybody brings their own piece to it. So we like start with the ideas in a very solid, what I'll call the most solid, like rough demo I feel like you could have. And then, you know, we just improve, and then we'll work it until we hit the studio with the producer. And then it always takes a little twist with the producer, no matter what you do. So
I get you. I get you. And when you were recording and production, is there any challenges you faced or any memorable moments that stick out in your mind?
Yeah, for me as a younger band, you know, we don't have a giant budget to go sit in a studio for a month. So when we have a handful of days to get the job done, and I'll speak for me vocally, the time management doesn't give a crap if your voice hurts or if you're tired from the 2 days before or any of that stuff. So just trying to like keep in that zone and keeping the product good and keeping everything is top quality. And I mean, that's really the tough part, but I literally start preparation weeks before I go. I do all my vocal production with Jordan Beal up in Chicago, and you know, most of the time it's winter time, so it's like 20 degrees outside to start the day. But yeah, man, I kind of have a method and things I do for about a month before, and then we just go and slay it. But that is the hardest part for me, is to keep that consistency over many days, as you're pushing every limit of your vocal range.
If you had to pick one song that means the most to you on the EP, which would it be?
Man, this has been a really tough one on this record, opposed to most, but for me, Violence Is Your Love is probably the deepest emotionally for me as far as the story it references. I mean, it really has a lot to do with why New Dilemma exists at all in the first place. And it's so much of my life in that song, and everything, every moment's real. So there's a lot of heartache and a lot of healing for me writing this.
Yeah, yeah. It's been out just about a month now. How has the reaction been from fans?
Oh man. So far it's going great, man. We're so impressed. It's climbing charts really well. The music video done by Kill Devil Films, I think, has hit like 128,000 views or something as of today. Our Spotify numbers are spiking. We've gotten a few thousand subscribers on YouTube over the last few weeks. So for us, man, it's looking great. We're really excited about how well this music's doing so far.
Yeah, yeah. For you guys, does it feel like you're just kind of, like a rocket just taking off, or does it feel like it took a long time to get to this point?
Man, I feel like it took a long time to get back where we are. Funny enough, we were at the store earlier today. I was talking to my wife about this. Like, things are 90s rock was insane the way rock blew up as a genre and took over radio and fashion and all the things. And we noticed some of those clothes are coming back in style and kids are like wearing Jinkos again, like the 90s thing. But rock is really propelling all of a sudden. And I'm glad to be at where we're at as this is starting to take off. Like, I'm going to be honest, I wouldn't want to be a brand new band at the bottom, like just trying to figure it out. But I think we're in a really good place as far as New Dilemma, like what level we're playing at, the shows, type of shows we're playing, and getting back on tour and all those things, man. I think we're in a great position for this new rock movement.
Definitely, definitely. I'm glad you mentioned shows because the podcast is called Concerts That Made Us. So I have to ask you some concert related questions.
Let's do it.
First off, as a concert goer, what concerts would you say have made you?
Oh, man. So I had a lot of fun as a kid with my mom. She loved rock and roll. My first concert ever was Heart.
Oh, man.
A guy, I'll never forget it. I don't know. I was like 9 years old or something. This guy screaming Barracuda, one of their famous songs. And he's just spraying beer spit all over the back of my head. Right. But I've never forgot that moment. And, Papa Roach is one of my personal biggest inspirations, Jacoby Shaddix. And, for me, I saw them live when I was younger as well. And I was already doing band stuff then as well. And, man, and then you get hooked and you start seeing other bands in that live energy, man. You can't replace it. You can't catch it on a record. There's just some things that are just so vastly different between live and a record. It just is. And I love live. Love it. I love to perform and I love live music, man.
A band like Papa Roach, how do you think they compare to, seeing them as a kid to seeing them now? Do they still hold up in your opinion?
Oh yeah, man. Jacoby is just, first of all, he works his ass off. I mean, he's in the gym at 5 a.m. I mean, they also put the work in, and I'm sure it takes a little bit more effort than it once did. But man, these guys, you can go watch these live festivals they've done in the last year, and they're as insane as ever. I mean, they're just killing it. So yeah, man, I think they still got it. I mean, the comparison in his writing, he's always progressed. He's kept up with the times. He's evolved with music, and he never cared what people said. He was going to do his art. And man, I carry that inspiration from him as well.
Definitely. Definitely. Your local music scene then, is there, I don't want to say competition because there shouldn't be competition, but is there much other, bands fighting for the spotlight?
I'm going to say yes, there is. We don't want it to be competitive. Unfortunately, it just always is a little bit. I mean, earlier this year, everything we did was Battle of the Band stuff to play bigger shows. And we played, I think 3 weeks ago at the House of Blues Orlando. It was an amazing night, a packed house, and what a great night. And ended up being JRR supports us real well. We have a local radio station, 101.1 JRR out of Orlando. And Super Dave called up House of Blues and said, look, I got these 4 bands in this Battle of the Bands and they all need to do something better. And boom, we're at the House of Blues. So yeah, I'm sure there's other bands that wish they were there. And there's always the other bands, they suck. It should have been us. But I always say there's enough room in the spotlight for everybody. And every path is different, from your management to how you distribute your music to how you write. Like, I don't think there's any one lane. Like, how do you do this? I'm like, I don't have a book with a direct path to even how we got here, man. We've been working our ass off for 8 years, and that's the bottom line of how we did it.
Yeah, yeah. Now, the moment we're all waiting for any listeners that haven't been lucky enough to catch one of your shows, what are they like? Give us the full experience if you can.
Man, we have a nice dramatic intro. And we come out with Always the End now, and it just slams out of the gate. New Dilemma can be a little bit deceiving from record to live on how heavy we come across. So I think it's a little bit of a shock always uh, on that aspect. We bring the energy, man. We don't stop. Our bass player moves around more than almost any bass player I've ever seen in the history of bass players. And I'm not making it up. Go watch a video of New Dilemma. I'm not making this stuff up. And we just organically move across the stage. At the House of Blues, I'm jumped off the stage and I'm down on the rail with the fans. Like, we want to live that dream and live that energy. And the other thing is when the crowd, people don't understand, when the crowd is giving it to you, you can feel that energy. And it's just the fuel we need to keep burning that. So, yeah, man, we don't stop.
Good to hear.
We're not a band where you're going to come see me. I don't even know. I use my mic stand for maybe like a half a song here and there. Like we don't stop moving.
Oh, man. Here's an interesting one I just thought of. The Joey on stage. How does he compare to the Joey in the 9 to 5 or the Joey in everyday life?
Man, I bet my daughter would answer this one well for me. So let me give you just a little touch here on my life, and it's a little bit of why New Dilemma exists. So it's it's sort of a loaded question here, but and these songs reflected, I was a single dad for quite a while, and my daughter has special needs. That's why I gave it up when I was young, to be a dad. So she told me one day, Dad, go show the world what you got again. And I walked out of her room and I was like, how am I always in this new dilemma? And I said that out loud, and that became the name of the band. But I take care of her constantly. We have the real everyday stuff. My life is so different than most. My daughter's in a power wheelchair. You got to move her from chair to wherever she's going. It's constant care, taking care of her, feeding her. Now she's smart as can be. She's smarter than Dad. She does all the editing for New Dilemma. She's made all the lyric videos that you see up on YouTube. So she's also a big part of New Dilemma. So that is the real life of Joey behind the scenes. And that's why I thrive, because people are like, man, I can't do it. And I'm like, I know it's the typical thing to say, if I can do it, you can do it. Well, I really feel that's true in my circumstance, because everything is limited in how our life can happen. Just literally every day, from getting up to going to bed. It is not like most people's lives. So that is a little glimpse into my real life, but she's got some modern medicine that's working great. She has spinal muscular atrophy type 2. They've got some modern medicine that has changed her life around, and she's doing really well. And we are doing our best to keep a smile on our face, keep moving forward, and just showing the world what we can do over here. She's really the main inspiration by why this band exists.
Oh man, I'm floored. That's amazing. That, even that you can get to a rehearsal is an inspiration. Anyone from now on, anyone that says I can't or I don't have the time, geez, man, they need to listen to this interview.
Yeah. There's no such thing. Now, I'm lucky enough to have an amazing family with amazing support. I do now have a wife that supports me 100%. My mom and my stepdad are behind this 100%. So we have a lot of people that make this happen. So yeah, I cannot just get a phone call and run out the door. Like, my life has to be planned in some fashion, whether that shows or a tour or whatever it is we're doing. Everything is very, very, in line for us to make our life work. But, on top of that, my wife, both our vehicles, she's been in 2 car wrecks in the last 7 weeks, and they totaled our Rogue. She's sitting at a stoplight. Bam. So we got that worst phone call you ever get. And then 5 weeks later, she's driving my daughter's wheelchair van to work in Orlando, Florida, and got hit and run by a semi. So also my daughter's wheelchair van got totaled. But my point of this story is, even that, our vehicles, we're, getting new ones. It's just stuff. We don't care about stuff, literally. My wife's okay, and that's all that mattered. And again, to the testament of I can't do it. Look, we lost both cars, and we've had an interesting life hand dealt. So again, man, that's my biggest thing. I want to be to the world as inspiration, that you can get out there and do whatever the hell you want to do. Because if you have limits, you're the one putting them on yourself.
Exactly.
I don't
Exactly.
care. If you want to argue it, I'll get back on any podcast. We can argue that one for anybody who wants to talk about it. I'm in.
Oh man. And back to the shows. Out of
Yes,
all
sir.
the gigs, all the concerts you've played over your career, is there one that sits above the rest? You know, it couldn't have got any better.
Yes, actually 3 weeks ago, the House of Blues Orlando. We played that show when I was really young, a packed house, and it was like that dream show at that age. I was like 19, and this big venue at downtown Disney World in Orlando, Florida, sold out, and you're losing your mind. And I was always like, man, that was my best show then. And when I started this, I was like, okay, I'm a dad. I have all these things we just talked about. If I could just get back to that, if I could play that show, I would be done with my what ifs. And that was the truth. So 3 weeks ago, I literally met my what ifs with being in a band again. As I said, we're about coming up on 8 years of New Dilemma now. And we just did it 3 weeks ago. It took 8 years and a lot of hard work. We toured nationally with Cold, but that show emotionally, and it just meant so much to me. And man, everything else right now is a cherry on top. These conversations we get to have and being on the radio around the country and charting, and I mean, living the dream right now, man.
Yeah, exactly. Here's a fun one. If we take that question and flip it around, maybe in the early days, is there a show you would consider the worst, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, I actually, without a doubt, remember our worst experience for a venue, or it wasn't even really a venue. So we get a phone call and, hey, we'll pay you $500 if, we were pretty big in the scene back then as well. We'll pay you $500. And back then, or 19, we're like, yeah, we're so in. So we go out to this place in Tavares, Florida. It's at this point, it was the middle of nowhere. Whether it's developed or not, I really haven't been back in that area. But we get there and it's like 500 people, and I can't even describe the outfits. It was a scary place to be. We were very nervous, but we were glad that we were just the band. And if anyway, hey, we're just the band. So we go out, there's a tent set up with plywood, and it had been raining. There's mud everywhere. And even back then, we had decent gear. We didn't play in mud. And we start to get set up, and we get everything, and we start into the first song, I believe, and the cops show up, which we again go, we're just the band, we were hired to play here tonight. And we left. That is by far the worst experience and show probably ever still today. But yeah, that was from my young days.
Oh man. Well, thank God you're past those days now, and that wouldn't happen again.
No, I'm not, our manager, yeah, I don't think he would put us in that position. That's the other thing. We're managed by Paul Crosby it was in Saliva for 20 something years. So drummer for Saliva. So that's a whole nother mind blowing experience for us just to be working with somebody like that.
Yeah. To be in such good hands, like you couldn't get any better, in my opinion.
No, and Pavement Entertainment with the distribution, man, they've been doing a great job. We're happy. All we need now is the big tour, and we'll be good to go.
I'm sure it's down the line very, very soon.
When it comes
to showtime, then how do you psych yourself up, and then afterwards, how do you guys wind down?
Man, there's just for me sort of a natural energy sort of builds up, right? Like I'm weirdly calm the day of a show. Like when I wake up, I'm not as the whole day, but I'm weirdly calm when I wake up. And as we start processing, and then we get there, and then that's, it starts kicking, and then the energy start going. But I literally about 30 minutes before our set, I just start pacing, and I start thinking about all the things that we've had the conversation about here this afternoon or evening. And, I think of where I've been and where I'm at that night. And as I've gotten a little bit older, I try and soak in every moment of every night of every show, because when I was young, if somebody would have told me at that time, this is the last night you're going to be on stage, how would I have done it that night? How would I have performed differently? How much more work would I have put in? But so I take every show like that now, and I pace, and I think about all the things we go through in life. And, man, that just gets me excited to think of where we've been and where we are. And that's what I use.
Yeah. Yeah, I get you. I get you. When you think of, what's coming down the line, what are some goals you want to achieve? What's the next goal for you guys?
Um, right now it's really just touring, hoping that all this good stuff and movement numbers, will help present some kind of bigger touring opportunities and, festival opportunities, of course. And I think right now, like, that's the only piece of this new dilemma puzzle that is not all the way in place, right? So I think if with what we're doing from a recording standpoint and social media and all this, I think we get out there and back that up with our live shows, which we think's the best part of us. I really think that that's going to be the overall game changer for the more upward shift.
Yeah, yeah, I get you. I get you. When it comes to your fans, then maybe at shows, is there any interactions that always stick with you that mean the most to you?
Yeah, honestly, when we were out touring with Cold, I was extremely surprised when we talk about my story briefly on stage. I was really surprised how many guys came to me and go, "Hey man, I'm a single dad." And I just kind of felt alone and I didn't think there was anybody else that did that because let's be honest, at least me growing up, you always heard about the mom being single moms. You don't hear the word single dad like you hear single mom, at least not where I'm from. So, I think it was a really cool thing that happened once or twice, be one or two people in almost every city we played. So it's just neat that while that's not everything our music's about, that it's touching people's lives and it's meaning something that they don't feel alone. And man, that's the game right there for me. Because also our drummer went through the same thing. He was a single dad. Unfortunately, his child's mother didn't even make it. She's passed away from her problems. And also our bass player was a single dad for many years because of an accident with his wife and daughter and young. So this band is also connected in a very different way emotionally and where we're coming from with our music, man. And we're hoping that that's coming across to people.
Well, without a doubt, without a doubt. And before we dive into the last couple of questions, then future plans set in stone. What's next for the rest of the year for you guys?
Right now we're going to keep pushing these records and doing a couple one-off shows here and there while we work on touring opportunities that take a minute. We're already working on new music for the next I think we're going to be doing singles for a little bit after this. So we're already working on some new singles and getting those in place, and also some of that to shop around, possibly to some bigger labels, get some better support, some bigger things. Pavement is doing a great job. If that, we might be able to work something and work up the ladder, bigger stuff there. It's just about creating opportunity with who knows who at this point. But we just need that little extra boost behind us to like really send it next level.
Yeah. Yeah, I get you. I get you. Right, we'll dive into the last couple of questions. There are a couple of
All
fun,
right.
random ones. I'm looking forward
All
to your
right.
answers. First of all, besides music, what are you currently obsessed with?
Well, I watch a lot of racing, different various types of motorsports. And I actually drove race cars for quite a while when I was younger.
Yeah, okay, first
So
time I've heard that.
but like literally from motocross to like literally, I just love competitive racing. That's probably my little secret side, uh,
Okay, odd one.
infatuation.
If you got the chance to, be a race car driver or a rock star, which one is it?
I'm still going rock star.
I thought you'd say that.
Yeah. Now, if I was a rock star, I might have a hobby race car. Let's not get it twisted.
Very
But
true. Very
yeah,
true.
man, I've been on stage since I was like 5. This is just something that's inside, and you can't put the fire out. I mean, as long as I didn't do it, I wish I was still doing it. So it's there forever.
Yeah, yeah. And the next one, it's a bit odd. If you had to spend 24 hours locked in a room with any musician from history, who would it be?
That's gonna be Jacoby Shaddix for me, man. All day, every day. I'm sure my band members would have some radically cooler answers, maybe, but that's my guy.
I was
I'm
kind of
hoping I do
expecting it.
enough I'm hoping he's eventually going to hear one of these interviews. I probably talked about it in like, 50 interviews across the last few years, right? I'm like, maybe he'll hear one.
You'd never know. You might get a collaboration down the line.
Yeah, right.
And the final one. What is your go-to album? An album you constantly revisit?
Oh man. I have so many, I forget which one that's off of. Of course, for me, it's a Papa Roach album, but it's one with the Leaders of Broken Heart. And honestly, I can't remember the one off of. I can't remember the record title because it's been quite a while. And I love all of them, but there's just some songs on there in the time of my life that Leader of the Broken Heart, and man, it just got me.
I like it. Great one. Great one. Listen, Joey, this has been an absolute blast now. Thanks a million.
I appreciate you so much, man. It was a good time. Thanks for having us. I appreciate it.
Hey guys, I really hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify. And if you're interested in signing up to Band Builder Academy, use the link in the show notes below and enter the code CONCERTS and you'll receive 10% off. So, until next time, keep rocking.
Hey, what are you guys still doing here? The show's over. It's over. You can go home. Go on. We'll see you next time. We'll be here. Bye.